Hi, everybody. All right, let's take a look at some review here. Let's look at exponents. We know that exponents are made out of a base and an exponent. When a number is written using a base and a power, it is called exponential form. The power is called the exponent. Exponential form, the exponent tells how many times to repeat the base. So I have 2 to the 7th power. That is written in exponential form. Expanded form, I repeated the base 7 times. Standard form, my answer, my solution, 128. It is really important that you understand the 3 different forms. Please take a look at them. Issues with negatives. We are going to have problems when we have a negative base and even a negative exponent, but let's start with a negative base. In this case, your base is a -8. It is inside the parentheses and it is telling you to repeat -8 times -8 equals 64. Your base is -8, -8 to the 2nd power. In this case, the negative sign is not enclosed in a parenthesis, so therefore we call it the inverse of 8 to the 2nd power. Inverse of 8 times 8 equals -64. 8 times 8 is a positive 64. Its inverse, -64. Be careful. It is real confusing when they have a negative sign, a subtraction sign, an inverse sign, and they're all the same sign. So please go slow and be careful. Here are some examples. The base of 8 repeated 3 times. A base of 4 repeated 5 times. Here I have 4 to the 3rd power. 4 was repeated 3 times. Times b to the 2nd power. B is repeated twice. 6 to the 4th, h to the 3rd. Here I have -3 times -3. I have a base of -3 squared, which I get a positive 9. Evaluate means to solve. 3 squared is not 3 times 2. 3 squared is 3 times 3. Powers of 10. Well, when you have powers of 10, the exponent gives you a little shortcut because the exponent equals the number of zeros in the answer. Or if you're a decimal, the number of decimal places in your answer or the zeros in your denominator of your fraction. 10 to the -4th power means you're going to have a number less than 1. The 10 to the +4, we're going to cover this when we get to fractions, but a negative exponent means you make it a positive exponent and move it to its inverse location. In this case, it's a numerator. I move it to the denominator. We'll do more on that in our next session. Exponent of 1. In an exponent of 1, the answer is your base. So I have 9 to the 1 power, my base is 9. -4 to the power of 1, -4. Inverse of 9 to the 1st power, inverse of 9, -9. If you have a negative exponent, again, it moves to the inverse location and becomes positive. So 9 to the -1 power is really 1/9. If I write -8 in exponential form, I put it in parentheses. I do not just leave it. I cannot just keep it as without parentheses. I need it. And notice that the exponent of 1 is an identity, and it is usually invisible. You don't usually see it at all. We just don't put it there. What about an exponent of 0? In this case, when I have an exponent of 0, the answer is always 1. 9 to the 0 power equals 1. Negative 4 to the 0 power equals 1. The inverse of 4 to the 0. Well, 4 to the 0 is 1. Its inverse, negative 1. Be careful. The base of 0 is our most complicated. When you have a base of 0, 0 to the 4th power is 0. 0 is repeated 4 times. My answer is 0. 0 to the 0 power is an undefined value and has no answer. Let me see what happened here on why all of a sudden that did that. Sorry. Let me just make it a little bit smaller and we'll be okay, I think. Sorry. Fixing it. Undefined. As an undefined value, it has no answer. X to the negative 2. You cannot move 0 to a positive 2 to a denominator because you cannot have 0 in a denominator. 1 over 0 is undefined and you cannot have it. So that will always be undefined. So the only way to get an answer with a base of 0 is to have a positive exponent. So positive meaning positive whole number, 1, starting with 1. That's it for exponent review. Stay tuned because we're going to move on to the rest of exponents in just a moment.